We think that we have a really interesting topic for you today, and I can guarantee you we have some great speakers for you. But before we begin, there's always some formalities to attend to. So first of all, I'd like to recognize our corporate sponsors, for which we couldn't have this event or the majority of things we do without our corporate sponsors. So you can hold your applause, but I'd like to introduce them. We have Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, Seidberg Law Offices, Veolia Transportation, the law firm of Bonnet, Fairborn, Friedman, and Ballant, and we have DWL, Smith Group, JJR, and Corgan. Sylvania Lighting Services, and Exos. Exos is a new name for Athletes Performance. So now we can applaud. We are also very grateful to our sponsors of our tables: Arizona Commerce Authority, Arizona State University, Freeport McMoran, Phoenix Sister Cities Chengdu Committee, Phoenix Sister Cities Taipei Committee, and U.S. Airways Center. So help me thank them. So to continue with those formalities, we could not, Phoenix Sister Cities, as I said, is a public-private partnership, and so we wouldn't be where we are or what we're doing without our city council, elected officials, and since his time of serving as a city council member, Councilman Bill Gates has been an advocate of Phoenix Sister Cities, not only as an agency for citizen diplomacy, but as an award-winning youth and cultural program, but also as a partner in developing economic opportunities around the world. We are so very pleased that he could be with us today, and we'd like him to share a few comments with you. Councilman Gates?
Thank you so much. Great to be here today. First of all, before I get into my remarks, I would just like to ask everyone to give Paula and Rick a big round of applause for all that they do. Well, I'm very pleased to be joined here by my colleague, Kate Gallego. Kate, great to see you, and former Councilman Claude Maddox, always good to see you, and of course Representative Gallego as well. It's great to be here today and great to welcome everyone to the 15th annual Global Links Business Outlook Luncheon. You know, Phoenix Sister Cities has at its core the mission of building relationships, and specifically building relationships internationally. And I think all of us in this room have had the opportunity to benefit from that in one way or another. I believe that it really adds to the quality of life in the city of Phoenix because of the Sister Cities program. And of course, there are so many cultural exchanges that we have all benefited from over the years. But in the end, Phoenix Sister Cities only makes sense from my perspective if it helps with business development. And it has a great track record with that internationally in helping us with our business development. And of course, when we talk about business development and we talk about the economy in this area, we cannot help but get into a discussion of the Phoenix aviation system. And you know, it is the largest economic engine in the valley, in fact, in the entire state of Arizona. The Phoenix aviation system adds about $29 billion into our economy. And I know that Councilwoman Gallego and I are very excited for the fact that it's not just aviation. It's business, it's dining, it's shopping when we're talking about the aviation system. And we're at the point now, if you've been out to the airport at all recently, we're at the point now of completing almost 40 new restaurants at the airport. And it's good that those new restaurants are out there because the airport is busy. In fact, I'm excited to mention that March was the busiest month in the history of Sky Harbor. So Danny Murphy, big round of applause to Danny and his entire team for that. And it wasn't just a great March, but in fact, month upon month now for the last 5 months, we're seeing increasing numbers of passengers at Sky Harbor. So that's great news. But it's not just Sky Harbor. It's also our general aviation airports, Phoenix, Deer Valley, in Goodyear Airport, and they're going to be seeing, of course, a great amount of traffic as we have the Super Bowl coming up here in the Valley in 2015. So there's a lot on the go. It's an exciting time in the city of Phoenix, and of course, it's an exciting time for Phoenix sister cities. So I just want to thank all of you for your support. I want to thank you for being here today, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what we will do now, we'll begin with our program, and a good program has a great MC, and we have that to offer you. It's my pleasure now to introduce our luncheon facilitator, Miles Davenport. Miles is a retired officer of U.S. West and AT&T's Bell System. His career spanned, he doesn't look it, but his career spanned 32 years in the telecommunications industry. He has 14 years of international executive management experience in Asia and Europe alone, including 15 board and advisory positions. As chair of the Phoenix Sister Cities Economic Relations Committee, Miles brings a wealth of corporate and international experience to our organization. He has been an innovator in developing business relationships with our sister cities and programming reciprocal business exchanges. And above all, and I say this every year, he's just a really great guy and he's fun. So would you please help welcome Miles Davenport?
Thank you, Paula, for those kind words. I'm not sure, well, I guess I deserve it. And Councilman Gates, thank you for your inspiring words. My job today is to introduce our panel of speakers, be the timekeeper, and if time permits, facilitate a question and answer period at the conclusion of their remarks. We are fortunate today to have a distinguished panel of speakers who will each share their personal and their organization's thoughts on today's topics, trends in the commercial aviation industry. This year's theme focuses on an industry that already really affects local businesses directly. Today's speakers will share the status and latest developments on things like preparation of personnel for roles in aviation, aviation facilities, ground operations, and serving carriers, aircraft utilization, and flight operations. As we continue to face uncertainty about future domestic economic conditions, a vibrant, growing aviation industry in the greater Phoenix area will help us face the rapidly increasing domestic and international competition we have in attracting new businesses to our area. Having spent most of my military career in an air traffic control center, I am anxious to clear today's program for takeoff, so I will get right to the speakers and not spend a lot of time on introductions. You will find detailed speaker bios in the programs that are at your table, and if time permits, as I said, we will have a question and answer period at the end, but please hold your questions until then. Our first speaker today is Dr. Mary Niemczyk, Associate Professor and Chair of Aviation Programs at Arizona State University. As an ASU faculty member, Dr. Niemczyk has taught 13 and developed 3 aviation-related courses. Her ASU research work includes determining the best attributes, knowledge, and skills that lead to effective aviation training and successful job performance. Prior to joining ASU's aviation faculty, Mary had a successful career as a financial analyst at a major U.S. carrier and was co-founder of an aviation foreign performance company. Dr. Niemczyk is also an FAA certified pilot. Please welcome ASU's Chair of Aviation Program, Professor Mary Niemczyk.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. One of the things that I'm always asked or always told is that, gosh, I didn't know ASU had an aviation program. So I'm delighted to be here with you this afternoon to be able to talk and brag about it, actually. So we actually are on the simulator, in the simulator building on the Polytechnic campus, which is the former Williams Air Force Base. And the facility is perfect for us being an aviation program. And as you might not know, we are right across the street from the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport. So our students actually walk right across the street and they can occupy their airplanes on the tarmac over there at the airport. we have just been merged into the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And that is really a great thing for us because the Fulton Schools, as you may know, is very strong and very well known throughout the country. So what we think it's going to allow us to do is actually become a little bit more well known ourselves. One of the things that I've said quite often about our program is that, unfortunately, I feel that we are ASU's best kept secret. And I really do mean unfortunately, because we've been around for over 50 years, and yet a lot of folks don't know about us. So we are going to be part of the Fulton Schools of Engineering starting in July. We actually have 3 different Bachelor of Science options. Right now, we're going to be starting a 4th in the fall. And our 3 options are professional flight, air transportation management. The 4th one that we're starting is going to be the UAS program. And we also offer air traffic control. We're also starting some courses this fall that will allow students to get their airline dispatcher certification, which is going to be a huge benefit for them to walk out with additional certification in their back pockets when they graduate from our program. We also offer a 2-year program that is in conjunction with the state's community colleges. So essentially what students can do is get their AAS degrees at the various community colleges within the state, come over to ASU and finish off their degree programs with us. It's been very popular. There are several community colleges in the state that offered various types of aviation programs, so they can come to ASU and do their junior and senior years essentially, and then walk out with a BAS degree. We have a master's degree too, which focuses on aviation management and human factors. And we have a very unique Ph.D. program on our campus, which is affectionately called SMACS, Simulation, Modeling, and Applied Cognitive Science. So it's very unique in that it combines all 5 of those disciplines, and aviation is one of those focus areas. But what I'd really like to do is talk about our undergraduate programs. They're very strong. We have over 400 students in our program. It's one of the biggest programs on our campus. And one of the first programs that I'd like to talk about is the Air Transportation Management Program. And I teach in that program. As was mentioned in my bio, I used to work at a large carrier here in the Southwest, otherwise known as America West. So I was at America West back in the early days, and I was a financial manager there. The other thing I'd like to talk about right now, too, is our other faculty. All the faculty in our department come out of the airline industry or the aviation industry, which is really unique. You would think that across the country in collegiate aviation, that all the instructors come out of the airline or the aviation industry, and that is not true. But at ASU, we can say that all of our instructors do come out of aviation in one way or another. One of our flight instructors is here today, and that's Jimmy Kimberly. He was with us at America West and US Airways too, and he teaches in our power plants and our structures labs. And so what our students are actually getting is not just the theory and the content, but also the operational aspects. What really goes on in industry? It's not just book knowledge, but it's also the industry knowledge that they're gaining too from our instructors. So these are some of the things that our students go off and do. And the other thing that is so important about our program too is, as I mentioned, it's not just book study, but we use a lot of simulation. And even in the management side, we use a program called Airline Online. And in that program, the students are actually learning how to create their own airlines. They're hiring and firing people. They're paying them wages. And one of the things that the students have found out is if they don't pay their employees well enough in the simulation, they go on strike. Or they don't give them correct information or not enough information. So they're learning about wages and labor and things of that nature as well. Some of our grads have gone off to some of these different facilities. Of course, we have some of them at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. We're really proud of that. And also some of them are at US Airways as well. Some of them also go off into the FAA. We've got many students at Southwest Airlines in Dallas, and they're also spread throughout the country. So our students are doing very well. One of the things that we have found out is that when our students graduate from our program, they don't go into an entry-level position. Typically, they go into a management type of position. And that, again, is because we are very involved in industry, and our instructors all come from industry. One of the things that's also a benefit to our students is that our location here in Phoenix. If you think about it, Phoenix is very aviation oriented. Of course, we have Phoenix Sky Harbor, Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport. We've got the various airlines, US Airways, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, just to name a few. But we utilize those partnerships to educate our students. For example, I still take my students down to the US Airways headquarters, and they learn from the managers down there. We take them to Sky Harbor, we take them to the Southwest Airlines hangar, to the US Airways hangar, and so forth. So we take advantage of the industry in town to educate our students as well. A lot of the other universities throughout the country don't have that opportunity. So again, that sets us apart. You might have seen some of our aircraft flying around town. I think they've got a beautiful paint job on those. We offer a professional flight program, and what we are providing students is with an education to become commercial airline pilots. We are using high-tech simulation in that as well, and this is our King Air simulator. And we also have a jet simulator. And this jet simulator actually replicates the type of aircraft that our students are going to be flying when they graduate from our program. So what will happen is that our students will graduate with all of their flight ratings and typically go off and fly for one of the regional carriers. They'll get their hours there, and some of them might choose to stay there. Others might choose to go on to a larger carrier, such as a US Airways or a Southwest Airlines. And these are where some of our grads are right now. You can see there with some of the smaller regional carriers, and some of them are with the larger carriers too. And so our students have done very well. We get a lot of kudos from industry saying that our students can just walk into industry seamlessly and transition right into their particular positions. The other program that we have right now, which is very strong and has been recognized by the FAA as one of the top programs in the country, is our air traffic management program. As you know, back in 1981, President Reagan fired all the controllers. So air service was shut down for quite a while. They brought in the military controllers, and then after a while, they were able to hire some civilian controllers. Well, it takes a little bit of time to actually train and educate controllers to be up to speed. So it took them a couple of years. Well, you might not know this, but as an air traffic controller, you can only work 25 years in the facility. So if you do the math, those controllers started retiring just a few years ago. Because of that, the FAA had said that we in the US were going to need about 17,000 controllers. So because of that initiative, we at ASU started our air traffic management program. And we started out with 7 students in 2007. And now we have over 140 students. It's one of our most popular degree programs. And again, you can see the simulation that we use there. Our simulation is state-of-the-art. And this simulation that you see here is our air traffic control tower. And it is similar to what is in the air traffic control tower here at Sky Harbor. So when our students leave our facility at ASU, they walk in industry, and it's been there, done that. They're very well trained, they're very well educated on all aspects of air traffic control. We are also teaching students about the radar aspects of air traffic control. Again, our faculty have all expertise in this. We have some faculty that have retired from Sky Harbor Tower. We have some faculty that have retired from LA Center, Albuquerque Center, Chicago Center. So they're bringing that expertise into the classroom and educating our students. One of the things about the FAA that you might not know is the FAA likes to check on us regularly. So a couple of years ago, they came out, and we didn't know why they were there. And they were talking to our students, they were watching our faculty in the classrooms, and they just wouldn't really tell us what they were doing there. Well, what was happening is when our students would graduate from our program, they would go down to Oklahoma City for the rest of their FAA training, and our students were doing exceptionally well. And the FAA wanted to find out what was going on at Arizona State. So they came out and they spent a couple of days with us, and because of that, because of the way that we're educating our students, they're now using us as a model for air traffic control training. And some of our grads are in these facilities. We have a few up in the Sky Harbor Tower, some of them are in the Tucson Tower, some are at Mesa Falcon Field, Deer Valley, all throughout the US. We've got one student that's going to Albuquerque Center, so he'll be starting there shortly. I mentioned that we're going to be starting a program called UAS, the Unmanned Aerial Systems Program, in the fall. It's a very popular program. I'm sure you've heard about these. Amazon has been talking about using these types of vehicles to deliver your books or whatever else you get from Amazon. We've heard about pizzas being delivered by UAVs, but it's very, very popular. And some of our students have actually gone off and they've flown UASs over in the Middle East as civilian operators. So there's a huge demand just not only on the defense side, but also on the civilian side. And that's what we're focusing on, is the civilian operations and more the use of the vehicle. What can these vehicles be used for? They can be used in firefighting, police operations, border patrol, pipeline surveillance, just to name a few. I know that they're used in farming in the Midwest. So there's a lot of uses for these vehicles. So this is going to be a really popular degree program for our students, and we see that the enrollment is going to be very high in that as well. One of the things that's very unique about our facility is it was left from the Air Force. So when the Air Force left, we were able to use some of the resources that they left behind. And one of those resources is the altitude chamber. Now, the altitude chamber that we have is only one of 3 that's available for civilian use in the country. So it's very unique. And our students get 2 flights in that chamber. And what that replicates is that you're flying at altitude and lose pressurization. And then you know how your body reacts. You know how your body behaves with the loss of oxygen. So our students are able to identify what their personal symptoms are, because we all do have our individual symptoms. So our students will be able to identify that if they should ever be in a situation that calls for that. So it's very, very unique. Again, it sets our students apart from all the other students in the country that do not have that. We actually contract this out. Those are students from another flight school here in town. So there's different entities that come in and actually use the chamber. As I mentioned before, we do a lot with industry. We're very heavily involved in industry, not just with taking students to those facilities, but our students are all required to do internships. Every single one of our students has to do an internship at an industry provider here in the Valley. So some of them are at Sky Harbor, some of them are at U.S. Airways, Southwest, and so on. So it allows the students to get their feet wet, to actually see what goes on in industry. They're actually using the information that they've learned in their academic programs and actually using it in the industry experiences. Our students also do capstone projects. So capstone is when they're solving a real life problem. So they're working with industry to solve that real life problem. And industry has come back to us and said they've done a bang-up job, because one of the things about our students is that they're very innovative and very creative. They don't know the way things have always been done. So they're coming in with fresh new ideas. They're very technologically savvy. And so industry has been thrilled with our students in what they've done in solving some of those real-world problems. And the other thing that we do, too, are just different projects. We're doing a project right now for GoJet Airlines in the Midwest, who needed some refining of their training, and so our students are doing that too. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to utilize our students and their expertise, and it's a win-win situation because our students are helping you and they're learning at the same time, and you're getting the benefit of that new expertise and that creative thought. We also have an international exchange program with the European Business School in Frankfurt and also Worms University near Frankfurt. We've been very successful in having German students come over here. They love to come over here to the U.S. They actually think that Phoenix is Hollywood, so they're thrilled to come over here. We have to break the news to them when they get here, but they still enjoy it anyway. And our students have gone over to Germany to study, and it's been a tremendous experience for them because, as you know, aviation is not just domestic, it's very international. So it's another way that our students are able to learn more about the aviation industry. I would invite you all to come out and visit with us. We have a tremendous facility. When people come out and see us, they always say, wow, I had no idea this existed. We're always expanding our resources out there. You should come and see our power plants labs, our structures lab, and our various simulators. And again, take a tour over with our fleet on the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport site. And our Polytechnic campus is just beautiful. So come see us. We'd love to have you out there. So there's my contact information. And if there's any questions that I can answer for you, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Niemczyk, for sharing the interesting details about ASU's aviation programs and how they prepare individuals for successful careers in the aviation industry. These ASU programs will definitely help boost the region's economy by supplying highly qualified personnel for the area's growing aviation industry. So where can these individuals find employment? Our next speaker is Ms. Deborah Ostreicher, Deputy Aviation Director at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. Her Sky Harbor responsibilities include air service development, media and public relations, and customer service. Deborah's primary responsibility in air service development is to maintain and increase flights with existing airlines and recruit new airlines and routes to Sky Harbor. I'm pleased to introduce Sky Harbor's Deputy Aviation Director, Ms. Deborah Ostreicher.
you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much.
You have a look here at the airport. Once upon a time, I hope nobody in the room is old enough to have been around for that bottom picture in 1929. That was our very first international flight. Any idea where it went to in 1929? Yeah, Mexico. Rabbi, you got it right. 1929 to Rocky Point, Mexico. Rabbi, I owe you a prize. 3 quick areas I'd like to bring up. The transformation, time savers, and I know what you all probably want to know most about today is what's the outlook for transoceanic flights and additional flights around the world. Transformation. Anybody tried the new restaurants? Yeah, pretty good, right? Pretty good transformation. We are continuing to do that. The last of the 40 new restaurants that we've opened in Terminal 4 are almost done, right, team? Almost done. And if you haven't had a chance to stop and eat at the airport on purpose, I'd highly encourage you to do that. The selection of both the local flavors that we have here in the Valley as well as the international brands are just beyond belief, and we're so proud of that at Sky Harbor. And again, transformation, Councilman Gates and the mayor and many of our council members were there to open up the USO, the very first USO at Sky Harbor Airport in Terminal 4. So glad to be able to transform the airport in that way and bring our USO members, bring a USO to all of our military members to be there. And if you'd like to see the USO and you haven't, please let any of the airport staff know. We'd love to show it to you. We're very proud of it. Transformation, Terminal 3. Remember Terminal 3 when it looked like this? Still looks a little bit like that, but we are in the midst of a major transformation of Terminal 3, which was built in, guess what year? Aviation, you can't play. Guess what year Terminal 3 was built in? Earlier. It was, you know what, it was designed in 76, so you win. It was actually opened in 1979. It is time for transformation of Terminal 3. So all of those wonderful things you've seen us bring to Terminal 4, that's where we're headed in Terminal 3. Art Fairbanks is here, is leading the project for the Aviation Department to go in this direction, a little bit different than what it looked like in 1979. We're headed in a whole new direction to make it even friendlier, even lighter, even brighter. Remember last Super Bowl? Do you remember the roadways? Do you remember the roadways Sunday night when you went to pick somebody up? Or any Friday night? This is last Super Bowl and many holiday weekends, many times of the year. And with the opening of the SkyTrain and the continued stations that we are opening, the next one by Super Bowl, you will find that this is not going to be a lifetime problem at Sky Harbor. We're not going to let that happen. Anybody not ridden the SkyTrain yet and willing to admit it? Okay, if you've raised your hand right now, then you win, because I will take you on a personal trip on the SkyTrain. So let's get together after. I really want to show it off, and I know anybody here at the airport would be happy to show it off to you. It is fun, especially if you get in the very front car. It goes a lot faster than you expect, and you can kind of whee right in the very front of the car. I highly encourage you to give it a shot. The Terminal 3 station will open by Super Bowl. It will open by Super Bowl, and it will connect all of the terminals. So here's how it works. You see up in the upper right-hand corner, you can actually get on the SkyTrain at 44th Street in Washington at the light rail station, walk across the bridge, get on the free SkyTrain. You'll make a quick stop there at the first P on the right, which is the East Economy parking lot, continue on into Terminal 4, and guess how long that takes? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And very soon, by when? Super Bowl. Super Bowl, it'll connect to Terminal 3 with a quick and easy walkway to Terminal 2, and ultimately all the way out to the rental car center. So all of those buses that you see on the roadways will be a SkyTrain. We will be transformed. Speaking of transforming, we are also transforming neighborhoods, and with the great help of our city council, namely in this case, Councilwoman Gallego, thank you very much for joining us in cleaning up neighborhoods in our public-private partnership with the Support Sky Harbor Coalition. We are cleaning up neighborhoods around the airport, and I saw myself. Councilwoman Gallego was out there with her gloves and her sun hat, out there picking up dirt, picking up trash, so thank you very much for helping us to transform the neighborhoods around the airport. Let's move to time savers, things you want to know if you are traveling. There's a fitness trail at Sky Harbor now. Thank you, Councilman Valenzuela, for helping to introduce this. Is just last week, introducing this to the media. You can save time. Instead of doing your exercise at the gym before you get to the airport, when you get to Terminal 4, you can actually walk the fitness trail. Julie, can you get this on your mobile website now? So you can even go to skyharbor.com, do it right now, I don't mind. It's skyharbor.com on your cell phone, and you can see, as you're walking through the airport, you can actually see this fitness trail that Councilman Valenzuela has helped to make really a priority for people at Sky Harbor who want to get exercise. So thank you for that, Councilman. Saving time, early bag check. Has anyone tried this? Right? Hank, you pull into East Economy Lot, or you can do it at the 44th Street Station. And now for our visitors at the rental car center, gone are those days of, I know my husband and I, he drops me at the curb with the bags, and then he goes and returns the rental car, or one goes and parks in the East Economy Lot, and we've got this whole jerry-rigged operation going on. Now, get this. You can just drive into the East Economy Lot, you pull up, you don't even have to get out of your car. Somebody comes over, you just pop the trunk, and you go, bags in the back. They will grab your bags out, give you your boarding pass if you don't already have it. You park your car, hop on the SkyTrain, 2 minutes from the East Economy Lot, you're there. It's a great service. If you haven't tried it, please give that a try. It's fantastic. And if you do have people coming in from out of town and renting a car, please tell them, don't forget, check your bag early at the rental car center. And time savers for international travelers. I know many of you in this room are international travelers. Global Entry is a great program through the Department of Homeland Security. How many people in the room have Global Entry already? I would expect quite a few in this room. Yeah, so what does that do? It allows you to come in through immigration much more quickly because the background check is already done on you. You can just walk up to a kiosk, put your thumbprint, your passport down, and go straight through. But here's the great thing. It also automatically enrolls you into pre-check. So when you're departing and going through the security checkpoint, you get to go through the special line. And what do you get in the special line? You don't have to take off your shoes, right? Those of you who've got it, you know the secret, and you're probably, every time I say this, people say, don't tell anyone about this. I don't want anybody else buying into it. Because guess what? It's $100 for 5 years. Best money you'll ever spend. You don't have to take your laptop out. You don't have to take your shoes off. What else? Jackets can stay on. So you get that quick departure expedited, and then when you come back from all of our sister cities to many other cities in this country and at Sky Harbor, you get to be expedited right through Customs and Immigration. Great program. DHS, Department of Homeland Security.gov, or just Google Global Entry and you can get that. And the good thing here is that once you sign up for Global Entry, you get pre-check, as I mentioned, and I think pre-check's $80, Global Entry's $100. Sounds easy. Last, transoceanic. When are we getting another nonstop flight? Al, when are we getting a nonstop flight to Chengdu? Yeah, soon. All right, let me just, I don't have too much more time, but let's spend the rest of it on this. So I have 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Miles. So here's the deal. We have wonderful airlines at Sky Harbor. We have incredible air service at Sky Harbor. And with both Southwest and US Airways, now American, we have more choices than most people in anywhere else in the country. But we were hindered a little bit before by what you see on the right-hand side, by being a minor member of the Star Alliance. So you know where you can share miles and book different flights on different airlines, and and share all of that, we were a member, as U.S. Airways, we were a member of the Star Alliance on the right-hand side. United Airlines is what I like to call the king in the United States of the Star Alliance. They are the biggest, most major partner in the Star Alliance. U.S. Airways was a partner, but a small one. So every international airline connected in the Star Alliance was very focused in the United States on United, which means that other city that starts with a D and ends in an Enver, that's nearby, that we would lose a lot. We compete for air service. They don't just come here. I mean, we compete with all these other airports across the country. And here in the Southwest and in the western part of the United States, airlines have to decide where do they want to send that plane. And if they're in the Star Alliance, places that have a big United presence are very tempting. But guess what? Now we are an American Airlines hub city. American Airlines is the king of our new alliance, One World. So what does that mean? It means all the international carriers who are looking for a really strong United States One World partner are looking at Phoenix as one of their options. So it's a real game changer for us, and I know that there has been some concern and some worry in the community about us moving from U.S. Airways to American, but I want to be really clear about this. This is a huge opportunity for the Valley. This is a big deal in a good way. We have a lot of options now that we never had before. We have access to all of those airlines listed under One World there. Not that we don't to everybody else, but we are really hot on the radar for those airlines listed on the left under One World. And we have access to aircraft and destinations with just one stop right now that we didn't have as U.S. Airways. So I encourage you to take a look at all the places you can get to now, and as this goes on, even easier than before. Another thing I want to talk about very quickly is, well, what has this merger done to us, and how have rates at the airport increased or decreased as a result of us becoming a part of American Airlines? I've heard talk on the street, oh, prices are going to be so high, or we're going to be one of the most expensive airports. Can you see this in the back at all? Can you see that? Number 4. Laura, can you see this? Okay, so Phoenix is the 4th least expensive airport in the United States with an average fare of $180. 4th least expensive, with no reason to believe that there will be a significant change there. That's hugely competitive to business who wants to be here and visitors who want to come to the Valley. And we've also heard, well, a lot of flights will leave Sky Harbor. We have no indication of that either, and I just want to make sure that I am very clear about that. We not only have more flights at the airport overall since the merger, but more flights on American and U.S. Airways out of Sky Harbor since the merger. Pretty big deal, this merger. So I picked Asia as just one example to give you an idea of some of the things we're looking at. In particular, as you saw on the slide earlier, Japan Airlines being part of One World. Asia is the largest growing segment of our international traveling population at the moment. So we're working on that really hard. We're also continuing to work on every other country with every sister city in the room and more, but very focused on Asia because we know that this is such a growing segment. And what's really hard to grasp is that Phoenix has the largest population without a nonstop flight to Asia. How can that be? Why would that happen? Here's the deal. While we have a larger population than some of these other cities on the map, our average income isn't as high. So that's one of the things we really need to work on, and I know that many of you in this room, in particular our elected officials, are working on that to drive more business and more energy into this community so that we can raise that average income and have more disposable income, more companies here, so that next time you ever invite me back, Paula, to this, I'll be showing you an Asian air carrier on this map, and we won't be the largest city without it. We are after it hard. We are working not only with Japan Airlines, but with ANA and Cathay and many others, but we are, I will tell you, very focused on Japan because it's in the one world. So there's some few things, and I have a handout on the table I gave you. What is the airport doing, and what can you do as a community to help gain air service? As an airport, we are working constantly to keep our relationships with the airlines going, to tell them about the benefits we have at Sky Harbor, and thanks to our elected officials, thanks to the Phoenix City Council, we have a program that allows us to help airlines with their marketing efforts to the tune of $1.5 million if they will bring their airline to Sky Harbor. This is really important because other communities are doing this, and now we're able to do that too. So when we walk into an airline and tell them all the great things about Sky Harbor, Phoenix, and the Valley, we can also say, and we have this great offer to you where we can help you with your marketing when it comes to Sky Harbor. So what can you do to help? As I wrap it up here, a few things. Again, more details on the sheet in front of you. As a community, we want to be as welcoming as we can. This is not anything I need to tell the people in this room. Welcoming in every way, making sure people around the world know that Phoenix, the Valley, and Arizona want everybody to visit us and to do business here. Everybody. Build our business, raise the number of people needing and wanting to come and go, and raise that average income with more jobs. We're all in this room working on that. And if you know about some data that we may be missing, and I'll explain this real briefly and then I'm out, we track every single person who comes and goes from Sky Harbor from every country in the world. We can see the data through the Department of Transportation and a lot of other long acronym names that you probably don't want to hear. We can tell. But sometimes they sneak by us. And here's an example. If you are a company in Phoenix, but your main company headquarters are located in New York, and that's where your credit card is, and your company in New York books you a ticket, and you fly on one airline over to LA, on another airline over to Japan, and it's all booked on a New York credit card, and it will show up in the Department of Transportation and other statistics as being a New York person flew from LA to Taipei, and I can't see it. And I hear that there are large and small companies that are doing this in the Valley, and they're traveling frequently, but they're off the radar because of these types of anomalies. So if you know about that, that's what I mean in the very last bullet there. If you know about this happening, we need that data. So when we go to the airline, we can say, here's the real data, and here's a letter from this company that has 20 people who are flying first-class tickets every month to Taipei. That will really help us when we go to the airlines. And Hank has already been helping us to do those kinds of things. So with that, I want to thank you for inviting me to be here and share with you. And I hope that we will have time for questions because I would really like to hear what you all have to say and your suggestions about Sky Harbor and the Aviation Department. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Deborah, for your comments. The rapid growth and ongoing development and modernization of Sky Harbor International Airport is certain to maintain its leading role in retaining and attracting business to enterprise to the greater Phoenix metro area and Arizona. Although Sky Harbor is the big kahuna when it comes to area airports, the Valley, as had been mentioned earlier, is home to a number of other significant airfields, many a legacy of the extensive aircrew training that took place during World War II. Our concluding speaker today is Mr. Orin Anderson. He's the Director of Business Development at Scottsdale's Pinnacle Aviation, not airlines, as was advertised earlier. Pinnacle Aviation, with operations in the United States and Spain, provides domestic and international air charter, sales, maintenance, services, while maintaining an impeccable safety record. At Pinnacle, Mr. Anderson is responsible for the growth and development of the company's retail charter business, aircraft maintenance, and sales. Orin's entry into the commercial aviation industry was preceded by a career developing sports organizations. You've maybe heard of one of them. I think it's something to do with the sun. and in Sacramento with the Kings. And then he worked in a credit card marketing position at in the banking industry. Join me in welcoming Pinnacle Aviation's Director of Business Development, Mr. Orin Anderson.
Thank you, Miles. Flying around on private jets is fun. And it's efficient, and it's really expensive. In about 1986, Warren Buffett and his partner Charlie Munger, after, gosh, it was 20 years of being critical about other CEOs using private aviation, they finally broke down and bought a Challenger 600. They paid $850,000 for it. After about a year, they sold it. They upgraded to a Global 6000. And if you've read any of Warren Buffett's chairman letters to the shareholders, they're very funny. And he named the airplane the Indefensible. After about 2 years, he renamed the airplane the Indispensable. Now, that's good news for all of us, and I'll tell you why in a second. 10 years later, Berkshire Hathaway bought NetJets, and NetJets is the largest fractional ownership provider in the world. The reason indispensable means something to all of us is when you think about any technology that is indispensable, think electricity, cars, computers, cell phones. Capitalism does something where it begins to drive down the cost to create the ability for everybody to have access to it. So I would venture to say that if you haven't flown on private jets yet, you will before too long. So just a little bit about the industry. When we talk about private aviation, I just want to define what it is. We have military aviation, and then we have civil aviation. Under civil aviation, you have the commercial carriers and the cargo. And then under general aviation is what the FAA has defined as private aviation. These are people who own airplanes, fly them themselves. These are not people who are paying for their pilots. That has been defined as business aviation. And that encompasses the company that I work with, Pinnacle Aviation, and really all of the private jets. When we say private aviation, most of us mean the private jets that people are paying pilots and companies like ours to manage and fly. I work for Pinnacle Aviation. Pinnacle we're based out at Scottsdale Airport. We are the largest management company in Arizona. But my job at Pinnacle is really to assist people in evaluating the options that they have when it comes to private aviation or business aviation. We were founded by Kurt Pavlicek, who's the gentleman at the front of that pyramid, in 1988. He's a pilot and managing one airplane for just a gentleman that owned the airplane. He began to manage it and began to build his company from there. He has built it into, in a very challenging industry, a very, very solid company and something that Scottsdale can be really proud of what he's done. The downturn of 2008 was a disaster for general aviation. The flight hours decreased by over 35%. Larger organizations slashed their staff by up to 50%. A lot of unemployment in aviation, a lot of pilots. The number of aircraft on the market approached 40%. 40% of the airplanes. Somebody told me once, an airplane is the very last thing that you buy. You get your house and second house and boats and everything else, and then you get an airplane. But it's also the first thing that goes back to the bank. And there were 40% of the airplanes were back on the market, and we're still, we feel like we've hit the bottom, but we are slowly coming out, and it'll be a slow climb out for probably another 7 or 8 years. It's going to take some time. But the general manufacturers Aviation, or the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, along with the NBAA, the National Business Aviation Association, put together an initiative called No Plane, No Gain. And the entire push is to just educate the public, educate people on how vital this sector is to our economy. I want to just play this video for you. This was the lead video for the conference this last year. Go ahead. Kind of gives you a feel as to what they're trying to get at, and really the number of people that are employed in this sector. The website, the No Plane, No Gain, is available, and there's a wealth of information, and I encourage you to go and look at it. Look at the stories of many, many companies who have used private jets to increase their productivity. So when people are buying private aviation, there are 4 ways that you can buy a jet or use a jet. The first is charter. And this is for people that are flying less than 25 hours a year. This is a one-time, it's like a taxi. You pay for the trip and there's no further commitment. Then there's the jet card, where you're pre-buying hours for, in 25-hour blocks. It's just a way you can purchase and reduce your costs. Then there's fractional ownership. This is for people that are flying more than 50 hours, up to about 350 hours. You buy a share of the airplane, and it gives you access to a fleet of airplanes. And then there is full ownership. So businesses that are using airplanes more than 350 hours typically will buy their own for the economics of it. But most people that say they have an airplane are using fractional ownership. It really is the best way for them to go. The question I get all the time, wherever I go, people say, well, how much is it? How much does it cost to fly private? I want to use this as an example. This is an XLS. It's a Cessna Citation, by far the most popular private jet that's used for business. Seats 9 people, travels about 500 miles an hour, and can get you a couple thousand miles without filling. So if you're chartering this airplane, you can count on it being in the neighborhood of about $3,900 an hour. With charter, you pay for the empty flying, though. Just an interesting note, about 40% of all the flying that happens in business aviation is empty flying. So if you're ever looking for a flight, I encourage you to go on the internet, look for empty flying, because you can get some really good deals doing it that way. Jet card, if you're buying the hours in bulk, it will bring your hourly rates down to about $3,600 an hour. Fractional, now you've got to buy the share of the airplane, so you're parking capital in the airplane. About $680,000 buys you a 1/8 share, and that gives you access to hours. And then full ownership, again, someone who's flying a lot, they can drive their costs down to about $2,700 an hour. The bigger airplanes, the G5, I'll go through this one pretty quickly, is more in the neighborhood of $7,500, $7,300 for jet cards, $59, and $4,650. So to use an XLS getting from Phoenix to Chicago, you're looking at about $1,300 or $13,000 one way, and then coming back. But you can see if you're doing that a lot, your pricing goes down dramatically by buying the airplane. Interesting thing here is when you look at the travel time of a larger jet, if you own that jet, you're paying nearly the same cost as the smaller jet, which is really why Warren Buffett and most everyone will move to larger jets if they're flying that much, because you get a much bigger bang for your buck. So real quickly, the technological advancements that have really moved the industry over the last 10, 15 years, the work that's happened in the cockpit is just remarkable. You know, think cell phone, and I've got a photo of kind of the older cockpit to the newer one, but it's come a long way. The aerodynamic improvements, the one you've seen the most is the little winglets out on the end where they go up. They make the planes look really cool, but they actually reduce the drag on the airplane and save fuel. The modern composite materials have really reduced the weight of the airplane, and that really has made a difference. The monitoring systems have made the airplanes much safer. It allows the pilots to focus on their situational awareness and get away from so much manual scanning of those monitors. And then the engines themselves have become very fuel efficient. A 1% reduction in the weight of an empty airplane reduces the fuel costs by 0.5%. So when you start really taking an airplane down in weight, the fuel consumption is a lot. This is a cockpit of a G5 in the early 80s. You remember those big gray cell phones we used to have? Kind of looks like that, doesn't it? That's what the new ones look like. So look at that. I mean, all the metal and all of the dials and everything is now updated. This synthetic vision systems that they're using, this is what it looks like to the pilot at night now. So they can use all of the technology of getting the terrain in front of them, the airplanes that are around them. It's remarkable what they've built into these very small boxes now. Last thing I want to chat about just for a minute is what the manufacturers in this industry are doing. Honda has spent the last 20 years, they started this project 20 years ago. They just received their first approvals from the FAA. They expect these airplanes to be out and flying by the end of next year. They're manufacturing them now. They've been taking orders for them. It's a 6-passenger airplane, flies it. You know, this is more of a regional solution for a business, someone who's doing business maybe on the West Coast. This is only a $3.5 million airplane. I mean, that is a dramatic difference from where it's been. They've done something innovative with these airplanes. They've taken the engines off of the hull, or off of the fuselage, and mounted them above the wings instead of underneath the wings. The ride inside is much, they're saying, I've never been in one, but they say it's much quieter, and they've really realized some aerodynamic advantages as well. Cirrus has been working on this vision, and it's also gone through its approval. That V-wing has gotten some acclaim, and that one will be out as well. This airplane is a little bit smaller. It's a single engine, and it's under $2 million. So this is a $1.9 million airplane. And then Cessna is really one of the big dogs on the block, and this is their new Citation X. This will fill a gap and give people the coast-to-coast ability from LA to New York that doesn't currently exist in this class. So just a quick snapshot. The industry was absolutely, I don't want to say it was decimated, but it was hurt badly in the downturn in 2008. We've hit the bottom. We've begun to, the airplanes are selling. The prognosis is good, but it's going to be a long haul getting out of this. It's probably 2018-19 before we're back to the 2007 levels. The technology continues to bring down the cost of flying on private planes, and the manufacturers are very aggressively building new and innovative products. So the good news, again, is I expect that all of you will find yourselves on private airplanes. And if you need help assessing what the best solution is for you, call me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Orin, thank you very much for sharing Pinnacle Aviation's accomplishments and your forward-looking plans and all the information about the commercial aviation industry that you folks are leader in. Those of us who are working to grow the local economy are pleased by their decision to locate in the valley and their commitment to operating a business that really adds significantly to our regional growth. It's been very encouraging for me, and I'm sure for you, learning how these individuals and their leading corporate organizations are educating, serving, and supplying our region's rapidly growing commercial aviation industry. And I'd like to thank them, and please join me in thanking them for their participation. To conclude, I would like to ask the Phoenix Sister City President, Mr. Ralph Marchetta, who's the Sister City's president. He's also the general manager of the U.S. Airways Center and senior vice president of the Phoenix Suns, who will give our concluding remarks.
Thank you. A little loud. There we go. Orin, I love an aisle seat, so that was very appealing. I'll definitely give that some thought. I'd like to thank our corporate sponsors, Sky Harbor International Airport, Terminal 4, best food in any airport in the world. Amazing. Thank you guys very much. Seidberg Law Offices, Veolia Transportation, Bonnet, Fairborn, Friedman and Ballant, DWL Smith Group, Corrigan, Sylvania Lighting Services, and Exos. Exos, there you go. I'd like to also thank our table sponsors and corporate members. I too am going to put in a plug for the Catania delegation. Please join us. I can promise you an amazing time in Sicily. Global Links is one of Phoenix Sister City's major fundraisers. I encourage you all to join us again next year and become a member of Phoenix Sister Cities. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.